Hi everyone, welcome to the first video on showing the settings of my HSD L39 jet. I'll start, the first video is on the transmitter settings, but just quickly to note that the HSD MFU that's in the model appears to have influences on the transmitter settings also. In respect to this, as an example, I will explain one thing that happened to me. This was on the multifunction unit. There is a flap elevator mixing. I took that out because it doesn't need any elevator change with the flap settings when the model's flying slowly. But what I didn't do is inhibit on the multifunction unit that setting so it was still open. I set on my transmitter a servo slow speed for the flaps for a more gentle deployment of flaps. But because the setting was open on the multifunction unit for flap elevator mixing, I didn't just slow down the movement of the flap, I slowed down the movement of the elevator as well. You'll see on my videos that the second flight I had, this caused a lot of problems and I damaged the wing on an aborted takeoff basically. Okay, coming back now to the setup. You will see here that I have two timers. I like to have two timers because the first timer is set for me. This will give me 4 circuit flights. So when this timer goes off, at that point I will set myself up for the landing. Then the 5 minutes and 10 seconds that I have, that's what's remaining when I have landed. But I know I still have 2 circuits available if required. This is just a personal one, but I thought I would share that with you. Okay, I've only made changes on the transmitter to any settings in the linkage menu and a couple on the airplane mode, so I will show you this. But let's say the main settings, you'll see here that I have got the plane formatted to 2 aileron servos, because you've got one on each wing, 2 flap servos, 2 elevator servos, and also the rudder. So that's the model type setting. If we now go and look on servo reversing, this is how I've got the servo reversing set up in the transmitter, and it is identical to the settings on the MFU. I found that I had to set the MFU and the transmitter the same, otherwise things got a little bit complicated. Right, okay, so let's now look at the Endpoint Adjust. Here you will see they're all at 100% on the transmitter because you set the Endpoint Adjust on the MFU. Servo speeds from my lesson learnt on my second flight, you can see now I have no slow movements or reduced movements set. My sub trims, everything was perfectly aligned when I switched the model on, so there's no sub trim required. Functions, this is pretty much as the transmitter starts up, but you can see that I've got the main functions, which is the J settings on the futaba of the sticks. This SF is my switch for the back switch for my gear, for my undercarriage, and my switch here for takeoff flap and landing flap. Okay, now moving on from the sub trim. Failsafe I have this set basically with the takeoff flaps deployed to help slow the model down, and everything set to the neutral position, also with gear up. But this for sure is your own personal preferences. If you come back now and look at the system type, on the Futabra I've got this on the Fast Test 18 channel, purely because this accepts all formats of telemetry. Okay, the trim settings, they're all down to neutral. I've got a throttle cut, which is actually obviously the motor cut, and my motor cut is set on the left slide. I don't like to see them set on the rocker switches because it's easy to catch any switch as you're flying, and it's then the motor is cut. So I put all mine on all my models I have the sliding switch as motor on, motor off. Okay, so all the other things really then are, let's say, down to you as a personal setting. So I haven't any other settings, and you can see the slight trim settings I have got on the actual transmitter trims. So it's got 20% of up elevator. Not quite sure why it requires it, but on my model the elevator is in a positive constant 5 mil up to help to make the model fly level. This would indicate the model is a little bit nose heavy, but looking on the incidence, it's giving it the 1% positive incidence that the model is requiring. So I don't set the model up to have a flat equal elevator setting at the back of the model. I will just show you this because the model is here. I first set this so that the elevator ran parallel to this part of the fuselage, and it's not. It is actually should be 5 millimeters at the back edge of the elevator here. It should be 5 millimeters up positive. Okay, I think this is all now for the transmitter settings. I will just show you the dual rates that I have got set. So this is the air along dual rates, and as you will see I have 85% movement. So this is this reading here, and this is on my takeoff setting, and then I have the 30% on the expo. So this is for takeoff setting, and then I go to the standard flight setting. So they are on 70% movement, 30% expo. And then this is for fast flight, where you've got more airflow over the control surfaces, so you don't need to have as much throw. So when I'm flying fast, I go into my third setting, which is 55% and of travel and 30% on the expo. Also with the landing, I come back to the top setting. So landing and takeoff is in my first setting at 85% and 30%. If we now look at the elevator and come back to the elevator, you'll see here that we've got 80% of elevator movement and 35% expo. So this again is for landing and taking off position. For standard flight, I drop this back to the 70% position of movement, and again at 35% expo, and then again for fast flight we're down to 55% of control surface movement and 35% expo. And this is really all the transmitter has, because the dual rates aren't, you cannot set these on the multifunction unit, so they have to be set in the transmitter. And other than this, all the mixing facilities and everything, I haven't touched this because the main options are in the multifunction unit, which I'll show you in the next video. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. And any questions, please leave in the comment box and I will come back to you. Okay, thank you for watching.